What married women and dual indigenship?
Now, let me begin by posing a question to you, especially if you're a married woman. Which indigenship would you adopt in the event of any political or leadership appointment? Or would you rather leave the option open or closed, as the case may be?
Well, Kira, that's an issue that has become controversial and is at present generating quite some public interest. Indeed, the matter was once taken up by the House of Representatives of the 7th National Assembly.
Well, I think that that was in 2012, when a renowned Chief Justice of Nigeria took a decision on a gender matter that infuriated the women folk.
As you rightly observed, Kirian, now that incident involved a former CJN who had declined to swear in a female justice. That's Honorable Ifeoma Jumbo Ofor as a justice of the appellate court on the basis of her indigenship. Now, Justice Ifeoma Ofor hails from Anambra and had served in the Abuja judiciary for 14 years, where her husband hails from.
And a similar scenario played out recently in Cross River State, where the confirmation of another female justice, Justice Ikpeme, as substantive Chief Justice, was said to have been declined. This time by the Cross River State House of Assembly after serving in acting capacity for 3 years. Justice Ikpeme hails from Akwa Ibom, while her husband is from Cross River State.
Now, although the reasons given for the rejection of Justice Ikpeme have not been made clear, indigenship was alluded to on the one hand, and on the other, there was a claim that she was a security risk.
Just to add that, during the 8th Assembly, the House of Representatives passed a bill sponsored by former Attorney General of Plateau State, Honorable Edward Nyang Wajok, SAN, which gave women dual indigenship. The bill provided women with the option of choosing either indigenship in their state of origin or state of marriage in official matters.
But regardless, these incidents, have raised fundamental questions bordering on indigenship by birth or by marriage. And indeed, Kiria, we have some examples of women who are from one state and then got married to a husband from another state, and for political reasons, they either chose their state of origin or went to the state of their marriage to seek political office, and some of them have won elections.
And one would also want to wonder why we're bringing politics into marriage. And of course, this situation is what we have on our hands now. Right. In other words, does the state of origin of a husband avail for his wife while the marriage subsists? Can a woman take advantage of her husband's state of origin to occupy any government or political appointment? Is there any constitutional provision that vitiates the indigenship of a woman once she is married? That's the thrust of our conversation this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. First is a Friday edition of the program, so we are soft this time around.
Well, soft but hard as well.
Yeah. My name is Kirian Umayo. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kirian to also welcome you to the program. We're broadcasting live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. And by the way, Kirian, a lot is happening elsewhere around the world with regard to the reactions to the coronavirus. You heard last night the head coach of Arsenal, Arteta, tested positive to coronavirus, and so he's going into self-isolation along with, of course...
what about the president of Olympiacos?
That's right. That's
the big-time merchant,
That's right.
And the thing is actually, I don't know how it's affecting people in the higher echelon of society.
Oh, well, a question was posed to President Trump yesterday. He had contact with a Brazilian official, and that Brazilian official is said to have tested positive. So President Trump was asked whether he was concerned. His curt reply was, he's not It's unconcerned.
It's unconcerned.
But in the meantime, he's imposed a travel ban from the EU, with the exception, of course, of the United Kingdom, for 30 days from the EU straight to the United States.
And the EU is not happy about that.
Absolutely. You're having all kinds of reactions. They had a bloodbath yesterday on the markets, one of the worst that they have seen in history. All right. Once again, we welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. We have our regular complimentary segments, newspaper review, business, and all that. So in the meantime, here is Comfort Amodu with the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Comfort.
Good morning, Kinsley and Kieran. Here's the morning news. President Muhammadu Buhari has described the revival of Arugungu Fishing and Cultural Festival in Kebbi State as a unique celebration of remarkable progress achieved in the restoration of peace and security in the Northwest region and indeed the country. Declaring open and agricultural fair a critical component of the festival, the president promised to remain firm, decisive and conscious towards achieving a safe, secure and prosperous nation for all.
Today, by the grace of God, this festival is back, and I hope back for good. Just 6 years ago, no one would have expected to see payday pyramids or multi-billion naira rice mills in any part of rural Nigeria. Today, Arugungu and many other agrarian towns have such mills, and I am told many more are coming. The many products displayed here are also proof of the progress we have made as a nation in feeding ourselves. The farming, fishing, and pastoral communities have truly embraced our programs and have proven that we can produce what we need.
And the task of enabling greater growth and development of the Nigerian economy requires joint partnership between the public and the private sectors. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this when he hosted key players in Nigerian's private sector following the successful conclusion of the Going for Growth 2.0 roundtable session.
I assure you that this government would pay close attention to your recommendations as part of your efforts towards developing policies and programs that will enable improved economic growth and creation of jobs.
Ministries, departments and agencies as well as private institutions received special recognition from the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council for their contribution to the business environment reforms as envisioned by the federal government. This was at the PEBEX 2020 Awards tag recognizing the gold in our green held at the State House Conference Center.
The awards they have received are a tribute to what we can achieve if we work purposefully and diligently. And they've proved that by diligent and purposeful work, a lot can be achieved indeed. And we've seen so much of what they've done, especially in the past 18 months.
And meanwhile, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, says the federal government is already working towards a zero oil plan for the near future, noting that the dwindling global oil price may just be a blessing in disguise for Nigeria. This is while playing host to members of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry in his office.
This partnership is a clear indication and the direction of the future. We must change our strategies, we must change our focus, and we must work assiduously to grow a diversified economy that would be totally not dependent on oil for proceeds.
And in the South, Eastern North Central Development Commission establishment bills have passed second reading in the Senate. This makes it four of the bills conceded by the Senate in the last 2 weeks.
The member states in formulation and implementation of policies to ensure sound and efficient management of resources of our Southeast.
It will provide employment opportunities, widen the avenue for people to show themselves, and then put the development to the benefit of all Nigerians.
The key flashpoint for flooding is in the north-central zone, because that is where you have the confluence of Benue and Niger.
We have all agreed each geopolitical zone should have a development commission. But in my view, what Nigeria needs most will be proper planning.
And worried by the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria based on statistics from UBEC and UNICEF, the House of Representatives dedicated Thursday's plenary to debate the issue.
Throughout the world, of all the out-of-school children in the world, 20% are Nigerians.
200 million people is an asset. But without education, Mr. Speaker, it becomes a burden.
The children, they cannot go and enroll themselves in school. It is the parents that are expected that have these responsibilities to do it.
Hours after the World Health Organization declared the novel coronavirus a pandemic, the Nigerian government has issued a travel advisory to Nigerians traveling to China, Japan, South Korea, Italy, and Iran. Minister of Health Osagie Henere made the declaration during an interaction with the diplomatic community at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, restating that the 2 established coronavirus cases in Nigeria are responding to treatment.
But are strongly advised against non-essential travel to countries with high level of transmission.
Now, the reformation of the Nigerian Correctional Service is gathering pace, with a groundbreaking ceremony for yet another 3,000 capacity all-inclusive custodial center in Karshi, the Federal Capital Territory. The project, which is one out of the 6 earmarked for the various geopolitical zones, is to enhance reformation and reintegration of offenders into the society.
I would love to see a facility within the larger facility here that takes care of separation of young offenders with hardened criminals.
Improving physical housing is important, and that is what we are doing here today. You however, owe them and the society to complete their reformation with the appropriate reprogramming.
Those are the news highlight for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly with Kieran and Kingsley after this break. I'm Comfort Amodu. Good morning.
Not so fast. Look, I'm tired. I want to check out of this country for greener pastures.
Just calm down for a moment. Please sit down. Do you have a job where you're going to?
No, but someone is arranging,
Listen, Alinko. Checking out of this country without proper planning means one thing. Unimaginable begin. I've been in the diaspora, but legitimately doing great things at home and abroad. As I've been saying, without the proper footing abroad, the risk is not worth it. Listen, Alinko, it's better to be home than be trapped abroad, or even end up in prison.
My name's Mr. Muftau Abiodun Balogun. We started this business 4 years ago, and this is the production outlet where we do about 4,000 to 5,000 birds per day. With the closure of the border recently, we've been experiencing massive surge in demand. Our sales per day now is going to between 15 to 20,000 birds. We needed to expand all avenues because of the multiplier effect it's creating. And the most interesting thing about this closure is that many of my farmers today are farmers we recruited recently, and they are young graduates. What the government is doing will lead us right. And I can tell you, if the government sustains this thing, sky will not even be our limit.
Manchester City haven't lost in 5 meetings with Burnley. Will Burnley finally get a win against the defending Premier League champions? Find out when Manchester City hosts Burnley this Saturday on the Premier League Live at 3:30 p.m. on NTA Network. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Coca-Cola and Axis Bank.
When I was pregnant, I worried you would look like your dad. But look at you. After 6 months, I worried about the right foods to give you. Now you've grown so much, but doctor says anemia can affect your growth and slow your learning.
Mom is right. 7 out of 10 kids in Nigeria suffer from iron deficiency, which can cause anemia. 1 meal of Cerelac Junior with Iron Plus provides 50% of your child's daily iron needs to support proper growth and learning.
That's reassuring. Cerelac Junior with Iron Plus. It's all good, Mom.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and it's time for business news. Oil prices slow down as countries battling with coronavirus spend more to prevent the impact of the virus. Details with Ronami Egirani on business news.
Oil prices fell to $30 at the close of the week due to the drop in oil demand in China and the Asian region. This is because of restrictions in movement to fight the coronavirus. Following the impact of coronavirus on the global economies, equity markets and oil prices dipped below $57 per barrel, upon which the 2020 budget was premised. The oil and gas stocks' week-to-date performance showed that the share price of 10 stocks were flat, while 2 oil and gas stocks' share price dipped.
US is most affected, and we're having the ripple effect over here. But of course, there's also good news in the offline. The US interest rate has been slashed by 50 basis points in a bid to stimulate the capital market so that the economy does not go into recession. So of course, if interest rate and cost of funds has been lowered in the developed market, we expect an inflow of foreign direct investment. So going forward, we'll look at a market scenario where the foreign investors will have cheap funds to bring into our market. So I believe that will also stimulate our market back into recovery.
While investors panic over the cutback in international oil supply by an additional 1.5 million barrels per day, some traders are optimistic that their businesses are safe from the economic effect.
Come to my business, it's not affecting in any way because the same quantity I do get in Lagos, when I get to Lagos to buy my product, I still have them. The same price that I do get, they have not been increased in price. There's no decrease in price or anything. So if you ask me, here in Abuja, in my shop, coronavirus has no effect at all.
I'm Ronami Egirani.
Many thanks, Ronami, for the business package. Next is newspaper review.
Well, let's welcome Bayo Tebi, our newspaper reviewer. Bayo, good morning.
Thank you, Kirin.
And
good morning.
Welcome to
Thank you.
the
Good
program.
morning, Kinsley.
All right, good to see you.
All right, let's take a leadership newspaper. From top to bottom, anti-Amoteku protest rocks Lagos. That's on page 12. Naira devaluation not feasible now, says the CBN. The story is on page 43. Federal government ASU meeting deadlocked. Page 5 is where you get details of that story. Now, the lead story on the leadership newspaper this Friday, constitutional amendment. Senate moves to whittle president governor's immunity with 2 riders. Wants immunity from criminal prosecution stripped. Presidential governorship candidates to possess minimum of HND. The story is on page 4. And then at the bottom of the newspaper, we have other stories there. Coronavirus, to travel, no travel ban yet. Federal government insists as UK fears 10,000 infections. It's on page 2. I won't interfere with local government election, says Kogi State Governor. That's on page 11. Bayo.
Well, the most dominant story is Arugungu Fishing Festival. It's now an international fishing festival that came back again after 11 years. President Muhammadu Buhari was excited. It even showed in his voice when he was addressing the crowd that the program of government agriculture has been embraced by farmers, fishermen, and the outcome of that is the pyramid of rice that has shown up in rural areas, particularly in rural Kebbi. He thanked Governor Abubakar Agudu for supporting the program. He said 6 years ago, no one expected to see paddy pyramids or rice mills in the rural Nigeria. Today, Nigerians can boast that we can feed ourselves. Governor Abubakar Agudu praised President Muhammadu Buhari for leading the nation to believe in itself, and particularly that we should be able to produce what we eat. Meanwhile, the fishing festival is now to be used as a tool to strengthen the nation's unity and peaceful coexistence. Governor Bagudu was very happy and excited that it has become an occasion that will reintroduce Kebbi State into the international calendar, but particularly for the tourist attraction that the Arugungu Fishing Festival will bring. The latest that we need to draw attention to is the issue of the COVID virus. The Nigerian diplomatic community has been briefed that so far there has been only 1 incident case and 1 other case from the incident case that came from Milan. And Nigeria government has now said that it has not prohibited its citizens from traveling to any part of the world. However, they should be very circumspect in traveling to endemic countries. And some of the countries that were listed include China, South Korea, Japan, Iran, and Italy. It was also observed that any persons who arrive from those endemic countries will, upon arrival in Nigeria, will be quarantined. This is to ensure that Nigeria citizens are protected. The Honorable Minister of Health, who joined his Foreign Affairs counterpart, also briefed that the incident case, his viral load has been reducing, and any time from now, when it is safe, he will be released to go home. But it's no news to say the coronavirus has become a pandemic. So far, according to statistics, it has now gone across 114 countries. On the continent of Africa, 12 countries have now incidences of coronavirus. Egypt has 59 cases, Algeria has 20, South Africa has 7, Senegal has 4. Among those other nations that have 2 each are Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Morocco, Nigeria, and of recent, Ghana has just joined in only yesterday. The others have 1 case each, and they include Togo, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Gabon that joined also yesterday. United States has 1,135 cases, and there have been 38 deaths. The latest development shows that the wife of the Prime Minister of Canada has tested positive to coronavirus. The Prime Minister is to place himself in self-isolation. He is to address the Canadians today. In England, the coach of the Premier League team, Arsenal, has tested positive. Again, 1 other club owner has also tested positive. And this is raising concern. Yes, it's raising concern about our players that are required to come home to participate in pending Confederation of African Football Tournaments. There are concerns by Nigerians that some of our players are playing in England, particularly in the English Premier League, may have been in contact with some of the players that a club owner met soon after which he tested positive. So there are alarms now, and there are calls to the Confederation of African Football to consider putting the Confederation of African Tournament in Cameroon on hold.
Well, okay. Before that, gentlemen, I want to go back to this at the Arugungu, festival.
Yes.
We have discussed on this platform, several times, on the issue of state governors or state government, looking inwards on what they could do to also attract revenue. And the Arugungu Festival is a landmark event. It has been stopped for how long now? 11 years, and it's back. And the governor should be commended, for bringing it back, and of course added some value to it, because it's not just fishing. There's agricultural produce on display and what have you. So it became a kind of fair, that could attract, tourists, to Kebbi State on an annual basis. And of course, you know what that means in terms of revenue generation for the state.
The other story that is worth drawing attention to is that the Abuja Police Command paraded about 98 suspects, which they arrested, among whom was a 44-year-old man who is said to describe as a rapist. He indulges in drugging his victims and raping them. Incidentally, 12 of his victims have made useful statement to the police, apparently identifying him. They have narrated their experience, their grueling experience at the hands of that rapist. It is said that one of his victims, in fact, is a student of University of Abuja.
Yeah, most unfortunate. But it's also happy that it's in the can in the meantime. At least.
The alarm bell that should be rang is that they uses the social media platform for hookups and all these engaging platforms.
But
that's why
the ladies fall for it.
Yes.
The ladies fall for it.
And he pretends, at one time he will say he's a medical doctor, at other times he will say he's a lawyer, and they get lured.
There have been stories of such persons, through the social media. But why should the ladies fall for it? That's the point. You see some of them traveling a distance to go and see somebody he met on Facebook and what have you. So why should they continue to do that? Of course, that is what you get. Exactly.
Yeah, well, it does calls for caution on their part. Calls for caution. I mean, let's not, Kirian, let's not blame the ladies so much. If you recall, before the advent of Facebook and let's say social media, there was called pen pals in those days. Pen pals.
Yeah, but how do you visit them?
But people visited and they will publish. Some of them will publish photographs. I mean, there was Drum magazine, for instance. Drum, you will see the photographs of the pen pals. Whether the photographs were genuine or not, you had no way of knowing.
Exactly.
But the level of trust was pretty high at the time, and there were social relationships that grew, from
pen pals.
Yeah, from being pen pals.
Why pen pal appears different, because you write with your handwriting. You write, you communicate. You share whatever.
But I could claim to be who I am not.
Yes. But of course, you have an address. Remember, you have an address. I have to post the letter.
PO box.
PO box. I just get to you.
So the PO box.
These are all social interactions, but there's no gainsaying the fact that some criminals can take advantage of that, and there's need to exercise caution. One other latest development is those who, I don't know how they get their information. They will get your name, get your bank, and get some details about your data, your date of birth, and call you and ask for your BVN. Apparently, that is the signal that they want to dupe you. But I'm wondering why they have the banks that have been reported, feedback has gone back to them. Why have they not worked with the police to track these people? That after all, they are using some specific telephone numbers.
Exactly. Very, very good point. But banks have also been sending out advisories to their customers that, look, we're not going to make a call to you asking for your BVN. That if there is any issue, you are directed to go physically to the nearest branch of your bank, to go on with this transaction. The allegation is very strong that there is insider collusion.
Yes.
Yeah, insider collusion. That, for somebody to have access to your details, for instance, means that one, either the system has been hacked, which will be tragic for the financial institution, or somebody else, has access to the bits and pieces of the information, which then passes to a gang.
We don't even have to go too far, because as at yesterday, I know of someone who has been swindled, and her account, busted, and of course they removed a substantial amount of money from her as at yesterday. So it is working, and like you said, there is an insider, and an insider plot in the whole arrangement.
Yeah, earlier you were talking about, the Arsenal head coach Arteta, who's tested positive to coronavirus. I think the point needs to be made. Coronavirus is not a social disease. I mean, people have to be clear about this. It's like your common cold, but it's more severe than the common cold or what is called the flu. And medical scientists are still struggling to understand the behavior of this virus so that they know how to get the appropriate response, either by way of vaccine or the other. So when you say somebody comes down with...
it's as if it's one big disease.
It's not AIDS. It's not HIV/AIDS. I mean, it's not any of those social diseases that we know of.
The only reason why it is being so pandemic at this point is because they have not been able to devise a means of attacking. So what they do now is to enrich your immune system to see how the immune can fight it by itself. That's what they're doing at the moment. But I want to commend Nigeria, really. The index case that we've had, from Italy, it's been properly treated, if you ask me, because of course it's been there. The viral load is decreasing by the day and others. So we should commend the medical team.
No question about that. No question
about a therapy that are using.
Yes, rightly. As alarming as coronavirus is, it's not even as deadly as Ebola or even Lassa fever. However, it is a tract disease, particularly upper respiratory tract system, that we need to be very careful about. And it got its name corona from the crown nature of the virus. And it's such a virus that survives only in the throat and particularly the wet part of that system. And it is even said that if you are able to drink water constantly and the virus is washed down into the stomach, the acid in the stomach will even kill the virus.
Kill the virus, yeah.
So we need to be we need to be very careful.
Yeah, that's right.
But we need not to send an unnecessary alarm there. But we need to be very precautious.
Italy toyed with it, and it's what is devastating the country.
That's almost 1,000 persons gone. And you see the impact on sports. I mean, the ATP calendar, that's the Association of Tennis. It's been altered completely. About 6 weeks.
Altered.
A number of tournaments, have also been cancelled.
In the US.
NBA has been on the Grand Prix in Australia has also been put on.
The league in Italy.
That's right. And Real Madrid, unfortunately, because they share a facility with their basketball team. A member of the basketball team is said to have tested positive. So they're going into isolation. Real Madrid, of course, one of the top clubs in the world. All right, so let's take... Bayo, do you have another thing? Otherwise, we'll go for the editorial. All right, let's take the editorial. It's from Blueprint newspaper. A day for the mothers. That's what the editorial says.
Well, we must respect our mothers, because tell me any person who is not born of a mother. But the editorial is happening on the fact that there are several dimensions to Mother's Day. There is the religious dimension. There is also the dimension taken by the international community for the International Mother's Day. But the emphasis on the point of the editorial is that the vagaries of society and the challenges that mothers face. Mothers are the first primary raisers of the family, the first unit of society. And if mothers are comfortable, then we are hoping that we are going to have a better society. Therefore, the editorial is drawing attention to violence, domestic violence, and also the challenges of mothers now who have become breadwinners, single mothers raising children, and the challenges of society. And it emphasizes that the challenge is that domestic violence must be reduced to the barest minimum. And therefore, if we must have a better society, our mothers, you say you raise a mother, you educate a mother, you educate a nation. And the best progress for us as a nation is to have mothers that are good, responsible, and are very motherly.
All right, Bayo Tebe, very well said. I'd like to thank you for being around all through the week. We hope you enjoy your weekend. All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we get ahead with our principal item for discussion.
We'll be able to unite, irrespective of tribe, religion, and culture. So we keep preaching on love. That is the only binding force Let us love ourselves, irrespective of where the person comes from.
You are about to witness the commencement of the most stimulating and compelling contest on television. This contest is only for the strong, the intelligent, and the talented. Get ready for the Unity Challenge reality TV show. Coming soon.
Engineering skills and technology define the quality of television transmission output. Training and retraining of appropriate personnel on the management of modern equipment is therefore a key competition strategy in the dynamic television industry. NTA TV College, Jos, invites relevant desk officers to special engineering courses as follows. 1-week course on audio engineering, operations and maintenance. Date 20th to 24th April 2020. 1-week intensive course on electrical power, earthing, lighting, uninterrupted power supply UPS, inverter and solar system. Date 1st to 5th June 2020. 1-week intensive course on studio broadcast equipment and outside broadcast operation. Date 15th to 19th June 2020. 1-week course on new technologies, optical fiber, IP technologies, automation storage and wireless technology. Date 10th to 14th August 2020. The venue for all courses is NTA Television College, near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. Course fee 40,000 naira per participant. Accommodation inclusive. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
We came back that day. Our light tip off from the pole. Once I saw again smoke from that window, from that kitchen, I was like, what is going on? Because they say he went to the car to go and bring for gel, like when he's pointing, explode.
Manchester City haven't lost in 5 meetings with Burnley. Will Burnley finally get a win against the defending Premier League champions? Find out when Manchester City hosts Burnley this Saturday on the Premier League Live at 3:30 p.m. on NTA Network. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Coca-Cola and Axis Bank.
We thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria up till this moment. Our conversation this morning borders on married women and dual indigenship. And to set the tone for the conversation, let's get this background report by Victor Azu.
If you are a Yoruba and you marry an Igbo, so far that you have married an Igbo and have left your parents, you are now cleave to your husband, because the Bible said that a man should leave his parents and they marry, and two of them become one.
When you marry from another tribe to other tribe, definitely whatever your husband is answering, that becomes your origin. Wherever your husband comes, that becomes your origin. It's not even by choice. That is why a woman can contest politically. If you marry from other state to another state, you are not going to your parents, your state of origin to contest. You have every right to contest in area where you got married to a man.
We believe that once you're married to a particular person, or you're married to your spouse, for the ladies, you're supposed to, it's already seen as you're coming from that, you're married to that place, so you're from that place automatically.
According to our traditions in Africa, woman has no right after marriage. Automatically you become your husband's place. But when it comes to politics, it's a different ball game. Then they will not begin to tell you the origin where you come from, that you're not supposed to be part of that place. So it makes it difficult for them to claim it.
Only recently in Cross River State, a certain Justice Akon Ikpeme, who is the most senior judicial officer in the state, was denied the position of chief judge because she originally hails from neighboring Akwa Ibom State. She is, however, married to a man from Cross River and has been working for decades as a judicial officer, including being a director of public prosecution and a judge in Cross River State. Now, both states belonged together until 1987, when Akwa Ibom was carved out of Cross River State. This situation has continued to generate controversy, with both the Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) and International Federation of Women Lawyers (FIDA) insisting on swearing in of Justice Ikpeme. It is situations like this that led the House of Representatives in the 8th National Assembly to endorse dual indigenship for Nigerian married women. To provide further direction, there have been sterling examples in recent times, such as the appointment by Governor Kayode Fayemi of Akaniyene Ekanemakban, originally from Akwa Ibom State, as Executive Secretary in the Ekiti State Civil Service. Similarly, Governor Babagana Umara Zulum approved accelerated promotion of a teacher from Abia State to the position of Assistant Headmistress with a cash gift to boot. The Cross River situation therefore raises questions like, what is the difference between citizenship and indigenship? What does the law say about married women and indigenship? How and where can the aggrieved get justice? These are some of the questions that guests on Good Morning Nigeria are poised to answer.
All right, thank you very much for that background. We have with us in the studios now to discuss this in further detail Princess Miriam Onwoha. Honorable Onwoha represents Isiala Mbano Onuimo Kigwe Federal Constituency of Imo State. That's a mouthful, Honorable Onwoha. Pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Pleasure is mine.
Okay. And then we have a partisan here in the studios because she was clapping a moment ago while I was introducing the honorable member. One and only Esther Uzoma. She's a lawyer and also National Coordinator, Proactive Gender Initiative. Pleasure to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Kingsley.
Yes, and also here in Abuja, joining us is Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst and the regular face on this platform. Good morning,
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
And from our Just Network Center in Plateau State is Honorable Edward Nyang Wajok. I hope I got that name correctly. SAN, the House of Representatives member 2015 to 2019, and former chairman, House Committee on Rules and Business, and Attorney General of Plateau State 2007 to 2014. Sir, you have gathered experience over the years. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, pleasure to have you on this conversation. But just, in general, in broad outline, the backgrounder gave some examples of the jeopardy that some married women have suffered on account of their original state of origin and then their state of marriage, as it were, more particularly with regard to political appointments or other leadership positions. What exactly are we dealing with here? Is this a political issue or a legal issue or a constitutional issue that is not been fully elaborated upon, because we know what Chapter 3 of the Constitution deals with regard to citizenship? Let's begin first with Esther.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Well, what we're dealing with is a constitutional quagmire. We are dealing with a country, a philosophy of a country that does not really know what to do with its married women. Honorable Gyang proposed a fantastic bill, The Federal Character Commission Act, in its guiding principles, provides that for the purposes of appointments at the federal level, that the married woman shall continue to hold her state of origin. On the other hand, the Constitution provides for the principle of non-discrimination in Section 42. And so we have two laws, federal laws, that are conflicting. Federal character, like you rightly mentioned, federal character, according to Section 14(3), is the basis of allocation of federal appointments. And so, the federal character now said, oh, but if you are married, represent your father's house. You see? But the Constitution now said, no. Nobody should be discriminated against on the basis of sex or ethnic affiliation. This is a quagmire. That is why you see some fantastic women, who have built careers over the years. It happened with Justice Patricia in Kano way back. After 31 years of service, when it came to elevation into the Court of Appeal, they said, this federal character said you cannot represent Kano State because she was from Benue. And she was not elevated just because of that. So it's a constitutional quagmire. It's a legal tsunami. It's an accident waiting to happen. Because the Nigerian state has not decided what to do with the married woman.
All right. It's a quagmire and a very big social and constitutional conflict. Let's go to Jos, where we have Honorable Gang. Honorable Gang, you sponsored a bill on this very matter years back, your time at the National Assembly. And the bill was, of course, seeking for women to make the decision by themselves, to say, look, have an option of choosing either indigenship. Give us a background of what you really meant, by sponsoring that bill, because from what Esther has just told us, it does mean that we have a constitutional aspect of it, and of course other perspectives to that. Let's hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, as of now, in Nigeria, like my learned colleague Esther pointed out, we are guided by the Federal Character Commission law, which expressly stipulates that married women shall continue to lay claims to their state of origin. Now, this has wrought injustice against married women, because when they do get married to spouses outside their states of origin, they do get discriminated against, particularly when they are about to be elevated to some exalted positions like Chief Judge of Cross River State, which is the example you cited. So based on that, I went into some research, and I found out that the justification for that practice in the federal government and its agencies is to be found in the definition section, specifically Part 2 of the Federal Character Commission Act. And Section 2 thereof is where the law provides that married women shall continue to lay claims to their state of origin. Now, I thought that if we amended that to now say women have the option of choosing either their state of origin, that's paternal origin, or the state of origin of their husbands, that will cure it. And it passed in the House of Representatives in the 8th Assembly. Unfortunately, at the time that the 8th Assembly won up, the Senate had not concurred to that bill. So I would like to see a situation whereby that bill will be reintroduced in the 9th Assembly, and if it is passed and assented to by Mr. President, I think it will solve the matter. Yes, there has been mentioned that the Constitution in Section 42 expressly prohibits discrimination on the basis of either ethnicity or state of origin or sex or other grounds for discrimination. But there's also Section 14, subsection 3 of the Constitution that talks about the issue of federal character, and that is to ensure that there's equity in appointments or employment into the federal government or any of its agencies. But that is not to say that the Constitution itself promotes this discrimination. It is the act that was decreed into existence by the military, which is now deemed to be an act of the National Assembly, that has brought about this, I would say, injustice. So the way to cure it would be to still go back to the National Assembly, which has the power to now rectify it by, for instance, actually align with the bill that I sponsored in the 8th Assembly. I think that would solve the matter.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Pajok, Leonard Senior Advocate. We'll return to you. Let's come back to the Abuja studios. Honorable Miriam Admoha. Now, give us a sense of what all of this means. First, as a politician, and then as a woman, who may seek office other than in the realm of politics.
Well, this topic is a very important one. Well, as it affects women in politics, I represent a handful of Nigerian women who are still struggling to break through the barriers. I am representing Isi Alambano, Onimo, Okigwe Federal Constituency. And it might interest you to know that this is the first time a woman will still represent this federal constituency. But the fourth time I attempted to come to this same very office. What has been the limitations? For me, I don't think it's about the Constitution or about the Federal Character Act or whatever. Most of the issues that affect Nigerian women in politics and whether appointive or whatever has to do with our cultural norms, our societal bondage, our beliefs, our belief system has held us down, wherein a woman who has aspired and who has the best potentials or qualities in politics is being brought down just because she's a woman. From where I come, most times it's been said that, oh, a woman who bends down before she urinates. So even your physiological build becomes a barrier. Or like the saying that once you're married, your inalienable rights, as enshrined in the Constitution, is lost. It's real. It's not a speculation. I have experienced it, and it's a major blow. But I want you to understand that being a woman, this indigenship thing is not just an impediment. Even a single woman seeking elective office is also a problem. You come to contest and say, look at this one, she's not even married.
That's right.
And you're a married woman, you don't have children. They say, this one, she can't even make babies. How will she be able to make it in politics? So it's about moving from these shared ideas of pain to collective action, where we say no to injustice. What applies for the men should apply for the women. We are an endangered species already. So we need to be placed side by side. And the issue of dual citizenship has been a problem, like my colleagues said from Jos. But it's something that we need to correct at the legislature and concur at the Senate. Right. But then I like to encourage women who are married to stay strong. The help is on the way. And there are women who have also swum against the current to make it politically. There are women who have contested and won elections both in their places of birth and places of marriage. We have Senator Binta Garuba Marcy. Right. So it's a problem, but I don't think it's insurmountable. With this amendment coming up, and with this greater advocacy by our learned colleagues, we will pull through.
Well, we thank God that you made it after trying 4 times. It means that you know your onions, and of course you are a grassroots politician. All right, we'll come back to you. There are other areas that you have also raised that need some expatiation. Okay, now, Jidojo, you know, there seems to be a kind of confusion now in a political, or do I call it a constitutional mix. What is the problem? What is the crux of the matter here? Here is a lady who got married to a husband in another state, and all of a sudden she also wants to take appointment from her state of origin, and in some cases others would like to take a high position of authority in the state where they are married. So what is this confusion about in your own understanding?
The confusion is about the politics of patrimony in Nigeria. It's not so much a legal issue. It goes beyond the law. It goes beyond the legalist. You know, for every example you can cite, legally speaking, why a woman was denied, you can also cite why, if you have the right backing, they will overlook these sentiments and then give you. I recall that I advocated for the Justice Ifeoma Jumbo for in 2012, when she was being denied elevation to Court of Appeal as a result of being from, I think she's from Imo, right. Then Abia nominated her. But incidentally in that case, it was even the governor of Abia that nominated her, TAOG, that nominated her to come to Court of Appeal. But Justice Mukhtar refused to even inaugurate her, despite the intervention of the NJC. So it took a lot of pressure, a lot of advocacy before eventually Justice Ifeoma Jumbo was elevated to Court of Appeal. But it was done, and heaven did not fall. We've had Senator Grace, Folashade Grace Bent, who is from, I think, Oyo Osun State, representing the good people of Adamawa South. We've also have Senator Desi Danjuma. So sometimes when it's convenient, you find out that this, look at the politics of Lagos. A lot of people who are not even indigenous of Lagos are holding very high positions in Lagos. You will not know until some of them that went to contest as governors in other states and become governors, who were commissioners, who were so many things. So sometimes it depends on your own interpretation. Section 42 is very supreme. You cannot even say that federal character law is superior to constitution. If the constitution says you should not discriminate on the basis of sex, gender, or status or whatever, why then would you say because of a federal character? And in the case of Cross River, which is the latest one, Justice Akon Ikpeme, who was just allowed 3 months as acting chief judge, only for her not to be confirmed. And then this case even went to NJC as well. NJC, interviewed the two of them, Justice Akon Ikpeme and Justice Ineji, who has just been sworn in last week. And they found the two of them suitable, and they say, okay, this is the preferred candidate, that's Justice Akon Ikpeme, and this is the reserved candidate, which is Justice Ineji. At the end of the day, she was sworn in an active capacity, but all of a sudden, people start saying, oh, for security reasons, for these reasons, for that reason. It wasn't even because she was investigated, she was not found to be corrupt, she was not found not to be competent. It's just because of primordial sentiment, maybe because of issues around oil well, the face-off between Akwa Ibom and Cross River and all of that was brought up. But it's not as if the woman was not competent. So we should, if we amend the law and we now say, okay, choose between whether you want to represent your husband place or your... Some people will still rake sentiments about, oh, how long have she been here? Or how long has she been married? She was only born here. She never schooled there. She never married there. So what is the stake she is coming to take in our place of origin? Some people marry at the age of 25. This issue will come up after 30, 35 years or 32 years that they have been in the service of their husband's state. So they are not even known in their own state. So how then do you now say, go back to your husband, to your state of origin, where you have been away from? You possibly were just born. I mean, in my own case now, I was born in Oyo State. But after the state creation, my part of Oyo State entered Osun. But I was born, bred, watered, and buttered. All of us that are children of my parents were born in Ibadan. So you will now say that this one is from Osun State. But I was born and bred and buttered in Ibadan. So this issue...
Very well buttered.
Well, if you say so. So these issues have to be... well, I'm not against constitutional amendment or federal character amendment of the federal character law, but it depends on the interpretation and political nuances and who is backing your nomination. If the person backing your nomination, if the president is backing your nomination, they will forgo all of these things and get it done.
Jide, thanks a lot. I needed to interject because you were talking about Ibadan and all of that. Very sweet. But there's something, there's been copious reference to the Federal Character Commission. I want to read the paragraph, relevant paragraph that is part of the subsidiary legislation. And it says, position, first is definitions. The definition section talks about who an indigent is, which is fairly clear. It's not being from a local government, and you cannot claim more than one local government as an indigent. But then it comes on to say position of a married woman. And it says, a married woman shall continue to lay claim to her state of origin for the purpose of implementation of the federal character formulae at the national level. Right. Shall continue. Yes. I don't know. Esther, I want to start with you first before we go over to the lady senior advocate. If you were on the bench and this matter came to you to interpret this particular paragraph, shall continue. Well, we know the rules of interpretation in law. But hold, I'm asking you, I will ask every other person else. Shall continue. All right. Doesn't that confer, on the one hand, a dual advantage on the woman? To say that the fact that you are married to a person from another state does not mean that you forfeit rights that are near to you from your state of origin. Shall continue. Esther, I'm not a guest, so I'm asking you the question.
Oh my goodness. Are you suggesting by any means that a married woman has dual advantage by reason of this provision? Is that what you are submitting? Because you said I should be the umpire.
I'm asking a question.
You see, for purposes of interpretation, that word shall is mandatory. However, as Jide did say, given two sets of facts, power always decides which one prevails. It's not about right or wrong. It's about power. That's why he said, it depends on who is supporting you. Hello? You know what is happening in the judiciary now? Power is a decision made by power. Power decides. Just giving two sets of facts, equal facts. It is the power that decides. It's not about right or wrong. Power decides which one prevails. So it's not a matter of law. It's extra law. It's about power. So if you want to, yes, it's power that makes that decision. It's not about the prophecies. For instance, is it not the same federal character? In section 14.3 that says that all appointments by the federal government shall be done in such a way that there will be no preponderance of any ethnic group. But we are seeing preponderance of a particular ethnic group. Look at our security sector, for instance. What ethnic group is running it? And we are all here. Power has not said anything. You see? So it's not about the salvation is not in the law. It's not. It's about power. It's politics.
Yeah, but law is relevant. No, Kira.
I want us to go to judge because see, I like it when lawyers are confused, and you know, no. That is the issue because we are talking about interpretation. We're talking about interpretation here, and it's a problem that SANs of this world cannot interpret something that can guide this nation towards taking right decisions. Now you are adding power to that. Meaning that...
SAN are not judges.
No, wherever they are, there are people...
So is it the courts that
they are in the upper echelon of legal profession. They know that about that. So that's the point. So that's why I want to go to judges now.
They make their submissions to the judges.
Whichever way they do it, they are very effective. Let me get back to judges now. Sir, please, on this issue of interpretation, that's the question Kingsley posed, you know. Please, let's get your own explanation. We have listened to Esther.
From my own perspective, I would say that the federal character law is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution, particularly Section 42, subsection 1, which guarantees the rights of women to employment, and it says expressly that they should not be discriminated upon on the basis of their state of origin. And once there is a conflict between a national law and the Constitution itself, the law is clear that the national law should give way to the Constitution. That is my first take. Now, secondly, looking at the example of Cross River State, I would say that the governor of the state ought to have resent the recommendation to the House of Assembly to consider Justice Ekweme for confirmation as a substantive Chief Judge of Cross River State. The reason being that if you even look at the federal character law, it says for the purpose of implementing the federal character formula at the national level. It didn't say at the state level. So can Cross River State now cite a national law which is not which does not apply to them, because the law says at the national level. It didn't say at the state level. So I think that to me there seems to be a conspiracy of sort between the governor and the State House of Assembly. Otherwise, nothing stopped the governor from sending back that letter of recommendation to the State House of Assembly for them to reconsider. It has been done several times at the national level, where the president would send his nominees for confirmation to the Senate, and upon rejection by the Senate, he will still resend back to the Senate with further reasons which may then satisfy the Senate, and that person will be cleared. Let us note that for the position of the Chief Judge of a state, if you look at Section 271, subsections 1 and 3, there is nowhere that the issue of indigenship is even mentioned. It just talks about your suitability in terms of if you've met the criteria, that is to say you are more than 10 years post-call as a legal practitioner, and you have been recommended by the National Judicial Council for appointment to the governor, and the governor will now further send the recommendation to the State House of Assembly. There is no mention whatsoever of the issue of indigenship. So where did the Cross River State House of Assembly find the excuse or the justification to now latch on to the issue of indigenship? So I would say that there is no conflict as far as the Constitution is concerned. The issue is the law itself. That's the Federal Character Commission Act, and that only relates to the federal government.
I just wondering, Lele Senior Advocate, there are a number of points that you have raised. I mean, the first one that we also need to clarify, say the Cross River example, that there has been recourse to a federal enactment to seek to justify their actions at the subnational level. I mean, the general intendment of the federal character principle is that it applies throughout the federation and also at the subnational entities, because if you are looking for equity and fairness, you cannot say you apply that principle only on the basis of Chapter 2 at the federal level, and then when it comes to the state level, only one ethnic group or one local government will continue to dominate all of that. So that principle, runs through, and there are several other provisions that would back that. There's the other point. Maybe I'll ask Jide that question, and it relates to politics of all of this. When a matter is before the National Assembly or before a State House of Assembly, it becomes a mixture of politics and law and constitutional provision. So on that basis, the State House of Assembly could reasonably bring in any item to say, look, is this agreeable to us? Isn't this agreeable to us? Still, the provision of the definition or the benefits that will inure to a married woman, this is what I'm talking about, interpretation. It says a married woman shall continue to lay claim to her state of origin, shall continue. Because the presumption could also be you are from, say, Lagos State, and you have married in Benue State. That some interpretation would be, okay, since you have left Lagos to go and marry in Benue, face your Benue people till death do you pass. And every right or liabilities you will get will be from Benue. Doesn't this provision, by way of, if you like, beneficial interpretation, confer dual advantage on married women?
Fantastic.
provision to me does not confer dual advantage on married women because it is very, very explicit. It says, shall continue to lay claim to her state of origin. Shall claim to her state of origin. It didn't say to her husband's state of origin. It says to her own state of origin. And so the law has to be interpreted in the literal sense. If you now say you are now stretching the interpretation to now mean that she now has the option either of the state of origin of her husband or of her father, that's not what the law says. The law says shall continue to lay claim to her state of origin, which is her state. Her state of origin is where her father comes from, because she was born somewhere by her father before she now married her husband. So the way it has been interpreted is that her state of origin is where she originally hailed from. But her husband's state of origin is different when she marries someone from outside her own state. And that's why to cure that ambiguity and make it very, very explicit, that's the reason why I propose that amendment, so that the woman will now explicitly have that option, whether to take that of her husband or that of her father. It will not mean that the law will now be clear. But if you leave it the way it is, well, you are entitled to your opinion to say, well, it means that it confers double advantages to the married woman. But some other persons will also interpret it the other way, and they will rely on the clear wordings of the provisions of the Federal Character Commission Act. So the way to clear it is to ensure that there is no ambiguity whatsoever. Once you now clarify to say there is now an option, so it is for the woman to now elect. Do I take the state of origin of my husband or that of my father? And quickly, let me just point out something. There is some injustice and some fraudulence here. How come that, like you pointed out, the woman rose from the Ministry of Justice? She became a director of public prosecutions in Cross River State. She also became a high court judge in a Cross River State. There was no impediment. It was only when she was about to ascend to become the chief judge of the very judiciary that she is a member of as a judge that they now raised that legal block to say, well, you are not an indigenous of this state, so you cannot be the chief judge. If she was found worthy to be a director of public prosecution and also a high court judge for all those number of years, what now stops her from becoming the chief judge of the state?
It really becomes interesting, when we run into a little bit of misunderstanding with respect to explanations or trying to interpret what the Constitution says. And that is what is a part of what is bringing confusion in the entire system. Now, you are talking, Esther said originally here that it's we're in a quagmire. And Honorable Yang tried to separate that, and brought in another perspective to that. And as far as our conversation is concerned this morning, you can see that we have not been able to tailor this conversation in favor of the Constitution of Nigeria, which is supreme. Growing up in political science, Constitution is supreme. Whatever national law that we have should not be given a prominence as against the Constitution of the country. So now, what does the Constitution say with respect to this issue of shall lay claims, shall continue to lay claims, to her state of origin? And Gang said, look, it didn't give the women dual indigenship. And you said that it does give it. So let me hear from Jidojo.
I think it does give dual benefit, but for a reason. Now, you can be married for 2 years, for 5 years. If your marriage is dissolved for irreconcilable differences, and you still continue to work in that state where your husband is, if you have lost your right as an indigenous of a state, then which right will you claim? Because you are no longer in that marriage. I don't know if you get my drift. Somebody is married, you can be married for 10, 15 years and divorce and refuse to remarry. If you lose your right as a result of having been married and the marriage is dissolved, then you don't have a right if all you can claim is to the place where you were married.
So is it the fault of the constitution that a marriage is dissolved? Is it the fault of the constitution
No, it's not.
No.
This is the point I'm making. It confers dual advantage. That is my own position. The dual advantage is you continue to enjoy your right as an indigenous of a state, but you also have a right where you are married to.
Which means, which means that if you did not lose your marriage, if your marriage is intact, you continue to enjoy the two positions. You can just from your
state of origin and from the state of origin of your husband.
If you get divorced, you now rely on that claim.
Yes, if you now get divorced, you can still continue to claim one out of the two because your marriage is dissolved. You have not remarried. If you remarry, your dual advantage is restored to wherever your new husband is from. But the issue in point was said by Honorable Miriam earlier about cultural norms. You see, many of these things, we shouldn't split our head over them because it depends on power relations. Who is making your nomination? The same Honorable Justice Akon Ikpeme was granted 3 months in acting capacity. She was not found wanting. She was not found culpable of any crime. It's just that the governor ceased to confirm her nomination. And somebody else has been switched to. Now we have at the federal level a new acting President Court of Appeal. You ask yourself, why is she going to be in acting capacity and her name will not be forwarded to the Senate for confirmation? Why is the hesitation? Why is the let's watch and see how she will? It's about power relations. Who is making your? If a governor is backing you up, like I said in the case of Ifeoma Jumbo Ofo in 2012, it was because the state governor TAOG was the one that made the nomination. Of course, majority of Abians were not happy about it because they said, look, you are taking the position of Abia State in the Court of Appeal. But TAOG stood his ground. Eventually, the case came to NJC. NJC looked into it, found merit in her nomination, and said, look, she has been working in Abia State Civil Service for over 20 years. Why should she be denied elevation to Court of Appeal? But the issue was, why is she taking the slot of Abia and not going to take the slot of Imo? But these are subject to political interpretations. It is about who is making. We have seen ministers that are nominated and are being rejected by their senators, by the senators in the National Assembly, based on the fact that, oh, this is this man. It's not even about gender now. It's about why are you? You are not from our state. You only schooled in our state. Why should you be enjoying the benefit of this? So sometimes it applies to both gender. Sometimes it's just one. But I agree with Honorable Miriam that women are endangered species and we need to protect them. There are not even as many of them in this public service to cause all of this rift. At least the few of them, let's encourage them to get to the peak of their career. So if we have to bend and look the other way in order to give them advantage so that they can inspire more people. We are talking of, we just celebrated the International Women's Day on March 8th of this month. We are talking of each for equality, or what's it called? So each for equal. So this is how we can promote it. We are talking of affirmative action. For instance, if it may interest you, in Uganda, when I went there to observe election in 2016, I found something very instructive in their constitution. Section 78 of the Ugandan constitution. In order to encourage women participation in politics, deliberately made it so that out of the 112 districts in that country, one must be represented by a woman. Then it now gave that there will be a representation from those 112 districts. Then there are 5 special interest groups that are also giving reserved seats in their parliament. One is labor, that's the workers' union, the military, the youth, persons with disability and the women. And he says for the military, there are 10 seats reserved for them in the parliament. That 10 seats, 2 of those 10 seats must be filled by women. Out of the 5 reserved for youth, 1 must be filled by a woman. Out of the 5 reserved for workers, 1 must be filled. This is how to promote, that's how they have decided to promote an inclusiveness in their own politics. Why can't we take a cue from such environment?
That's an affirmative action, quite clearly, in another sense. And just before we come to Honorable Onoha, I want to return to Esther Uzoma. Esther Uzoma, with regard to that interpretation of the application of the federal character principle to married women, I'm more concerned about that phrase, a married woman shall continue to lay claim to her state of origin. Does it confer a dual benefit?
It does confer a dual benefit because the word there is shall continue to lay claim. It didn't say relinquish. You see, and it is because of this confusion, perhaps, that have made some states' chief executives to think, oh, she cannot represent. The word is shall continue. It didn't say that her former relationship by marriage is abated. So, because of her unique position, where do you want to go? Which means, even if she's married or she's from A and is married to B, she can, because it is shall continue. And I think our court should assume this interpretation, in interpreting the state of the married woman. So that dichotomy, oh, where is she from? She's not from our place, shall abate. In any event, it is power that determines who gets what and why. It's a determination of power. And because women are not in position of power, they cannot make interpretations that favor their gender. The men who are always the gatekeepers will always decide what a woman will get, when she will get it, why she will get it. You see, while we're clamoring to be given a seat at the table, we are breaking that table.
Okay,
if you break the table, what else will be left?
Everybody will sit on the floor.
I like this. Who gets what, when, and how? That's the simplest definition of politics. And of course, politics, power comes in. I want to bring you in now, Honorable. But before I do that, I want to harp a little bit on this issue of confirming claims. Dual, indigenship you're talking about. And from what Jide has explained here, it does appear to me, as an individual, that yes, dual isn't when the woman is still in marriage, or when perhaps there's a divorce, or where the marriage is dissolved. Because if you're enjoying the dual position while still married, because I want to get a sense of why are people saying no to such appointments. I want to understand the reason why they do that.
Kirian, your question is on the table. Please permit me. Based on what Jide Ojo and Esther have explained, of course, the learned senior advocate just disagrees. It appears, because I posed the question earlier, and what you have brought in a different perspective. I posed the question earlier. It would appear that even though the interpretation shall continue to lay claim, confers dual benefit, once you have claimed one and taken advantage of one state of origin, you cannot subsequently come back for the same federal position to come and lay claim to another.
Use your position as a wife in the other state.
No. Kirian,
we want to let's bring in Miriam here. Let's bring her in here.
Well, Mr. Kirian, I don't think it's maybe your status at one point or the other that is the problem.
That's correct.
The way a woman is wired for marriage is such that she could be married today and for circumstances she can't control, she's no longer married. For me, the dual citizenship point or indigenship we are talking about is affecting a woman not because she is married or she at one point is no longer married. But I maintain that the problem is a cultural thing. If she were married, that problem will still come in by the power plays and all that. I know of women who are married and born in the same place, how do you look at it when a woman is born and married from the same place? It happens. I was born and married from the same place. Did I not face stiff opposition? I did.
That one is different. Nobody gave you appointment and you were rejected. I mean, your own is that you were born, you were married there, you ran for election 4 times, you got it at last, isn't it?
Well, the point still remains that if a woman is married, she from the federal character, she shall continue to maintain her place.
Shall continue to lay claim. It's clear.
She shall continue to lay claim. But if that marriage is broken at any time, nature abhors vacuum. If that marriage is broken and she is single or separated and no longer in that marriage, culturally, I still go back to our cultural norms. If she had children, in Nigerian and our cultural norms, they say a road where you have children never closes. That's right. They still call her our wife. So no matter how long the separation has lasted, she still visits that place. So for me, I think we should just forget about all these laws and interpretations and go straight to the point.
Which is the point?
Which is in these two conflicting issues, the Constitution should be supreme. Exactly. I agree with you on that point. And it's not when it affects a woman, then we start looking for things that will further reduce her chances.
Okay, honorable.
So for me, I think it's just a patriarchal system and a male dominance that just make the men decide. You have the yam, you have the knife. So when it suits you, you cut it.
Yeah, I'm sure Honorable Pwajok will be talking about potato, not yam, because Plateau produces a great deal of potato. Let's get it clear. I mean, just before we go on this short break, it is not every item that concerns social or political or economic relations you find reduced into the provisions of the Constitution. Now, the broad principles have been established with regard to federal character, for instance, the need to promote equity, fairness, and balance. And then, of course, Chapter 3 deals with citizenship. Chapter 3, now, every other law derives from the Constitution. If there's that inconsistency, then, of course, with the Constitution will prevail. What I'm saying is that inconsistency derives from interpretation. So how now do you, that is the, it's not every time you say this thing is not very clear, as my friend and the colleague say, he said there's a lacuna, so quickly go back and amend the Constitution.
We are going to legislate on it.
Yes, he said that go back to, when you legislate, you will still see a gap. And then you go back again to go. Precise, it's about interpretation. So how do you interpret that shall continue to lay claim? Exactly. I was going to suggest.
And who interprets the law?
It's the courts. That's go to section 6 of the Constitution.
Let's remind ourselves that it says for the married woman. It's not for the divorced woman.
Now,
precisely.
Let's take a short break at this point. Gentlemen and ladies, it's been a very robust conversation on this very important matter. Let's take a short break now. When we get back, we'll continue with that conversation.
My name is Yemi Adetunji, the COO downstream of NNPC. Ever since the closure of the borders, we have seen a marked reduction of about 10% in terms of the evacuation of what you call loadouts of PMS, which equates to about 6 million liters per day, essentially because of the border closure, because of certain aspects we've also done as NNPC, working with our sister organizations, sister agencies, Nigerian Customs, DPR, Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and other agencies, and also what we call Operation White, which is an intervention we have put in place to trace and track every molecule of petroleum products as they arrive in country through the vessels, as they move through the depots, and as they are evacuated with trucks out of the depots.
Don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Manchester City haven't lost in 5 meetings with Burnley. Will Burnley finally get a win against the defending Premier League champions? Find out when Manchester City hosts Burnley this Saturday on the Premier League Live at 3:30 p.m. on NTA Network. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Coca-Cola and Axis Bank.
And you are most welcome back to this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Of course, Kingsley and I, we have a torrent. Let me use Kingsley's word of tweets. Coming from Nigerians who are part of this conversation. We're going to take time to read them out. Let me begin with Benjamin Olute Kumbi. First and foremost, until we see ourselves as one, as a nation, we will keep moving backward with unnecessary issues. What has appointments got to do with indigenship? So long as an individual can deliver appropriately.
Now, this is from Emmanuel. I have said it before and I will say it again. Injustice to anybody anywhere is also injustice to everybody everywhere. If not for women, there wouldn't have been us. God bless our women.
Destiny says the women married to men from another state should have right to contest elective positions in the state they're married to and from the state of origin. Good.
Sharafaddin Adesonya, this indigenship thing is a charm for all of us are not indigenous to where we claim if we dig further. In fact, it is a liability.
Cecilia Okoroma says, we talk with with two sides of our mouth. Why? Nigeria must move forward and drop this shameful indigenship craze. Go to UK. You have Nigerians in their parliament. Go to USA. They are not discriminated against. We are everywhere in Nigeria. We are everywhere. In Nigeria, we play politics really dirty.
Bashiru. Now, unfortunately, our society punishes merit and excellence while rewarding mediocrity. Right. We often resort to tribal sentiments to advance our selfish interests, and partly that's why we have so many incompetent persons in leadership positions.
Delejak Solomon, we always complain of all forms of discrimination, but the Cross River State case is the shared nepotism and sentiment. The government cannot impose a junior based on tribalism and zoning. Issues such as geopolitical zoning and tribe have no place in evaluating this decision.
Reverend Mani Akman, this is a no-brainer for me. Women who are married naturally assume their husband's indigenship. They are therefore free by law to hold any position they are willing and qualified for. The Cross River saga is a shame and should be condemned by all.
I dare to say that to appoint a person to positions of public service is nepotic and unjust, and it produces quackery and incompetence, resulting in unproductivity. So I opine that all appointments to public offices should be based on merit, which for me is competence.
Chris Simeon, International Federation of Women Lawyers should rise up and kick against the decision made by Governor Ben Ayade of Cross River and the State House of Assembly by making sure Justice Ikpeme is confirmed as a substantive chief judge.
All right, Comrade Ngala, there's nothing like dual indigenship. A married woman should only be entitled to appointment in her own state. Assuming she was divorced, what is her stand?
Fauna Hami Idris, please let's be professional and appoint women into office based on qualifications, skills, and competences. Okonjo Iweala is not a South African. Amina Mohammed in the UN is another proud Nigerian. Bola Tinubu and El-Rufai should be emulated in this regard.
All right, Usman Banikantu, she should be at liberty to enjoy all privileges in either of the two states, depending on the circumstances she found herself, and this is also to do with her personality, capacity, credentials, and disposition. So women should be without state border.
Now, Ibrahim Modu Aji, dual citizenship will be automatically conferred on a woman by virtue of her marriage to a man in another country. Talk more of being in the same country with her husband. Denying her dual citizenship in her husband's state is inimical to the peace, unity, and development of Nigeria. Just before we proceed, let me speak on this very briefly. Yeah. This is not automatic. Yeah. There are. I wouldn't know whether it has changed. It has not. In Zimbabwe, for instance, if you are a Zimbabwean woman and you married a foreigner, your children. In Nigeria, for instance, if you are married a foreigner, your children can claim to be Nigerians. Your children can only claim the nationality of your husband.
Okay. Well, from Chris Simeon, in the appointment of women to head any position in government, the issue of dual indigenship and marital status should not disqualify them. Justice Ibeme belongs to both Akwa Ibom and Cross River.
Now, Chukwuka Dibia tweets, our laws need to be checked again, but more importantly, Justice Ibeme rose through the ranks to deserve her appointment. So, is she now going to answer to her junior or be forced to retire?
All right, Francis Obi, I quite agree with the issue of dual indigenship for married women. Customarily, it is acceptable that in some tribes, when she dies, she is buried in her father's land. Also, it will encourage the few women that are eligible for appointment.
Now, Chidi Amadi, the world is now a global village, so even qualified Nigerians are handed positions outside these shores. In Nigeria, we play politics with everything, even to our own detriment.
Delejak Solomon, the federal constitution has been on for some time, yet no concrete actions have been advanced by government to solve the problem. Regardless of where women come from, they should be educated and empowered. There is the need for critical review of the federal character principle and gender-biased customary laws.
Onwagugu Silvanus, a woman at marriage legally transfers her indigenship from her place of nativity to that of her matrimony by a drop of her surname to her husband's. Now, the legal evidence of her marriage is her change of name, so by implication of the above, she can't have double citizenship. The legal evidence of your marriage is not by a change of name.
Okay, we have read something from Chris Simeon. Before, let's go to Obademosi Haruna Adamu. It's highly uncivilized. Unfortunately, though, in a heterogeneous society like ours, indigenship triumphs over merit in appointment.
Amabwala Hombabs, I remember a particular southeastern state sacked indigents of a sister state not too long ago. This belief and our credo can only further disunite us. More than ever, it shouldn't matter where a person comes from, so long as the person is a Nigerian. Merit should matter.
Mike Ayakwo, as bona fide daughters of a state, that a woman is married outside her state of origin does not take away all her rights in her state of the new state and marriage. However, we suggest that any woman married outside her state of origin should concentrate 100% on her husband's state.
We've just taken that one again, but just say this is an addition. It says, this is why I'm an advocate of removing state of origin from your curriculum vitae. You are a Nigerian.
Simple. From Law Alpha C, this is an African society where marriage is highly respected and talked about. Once a woman is married, she has automatically become a stakeholder in her husband's place. She can be relevant in her father's house if not married, with the accompanying disrespect.
There's no disrespect if you're not married.
If the person is outgoing in terms of age, people tend to think in that perspective. When somebody is up to 40, is not married, at 38 or thereabout, that's just societal,
That's right. I mean, but it's not something that should warrant disrespect, I believe, Kiran. What do you think?
Exactly. This guy is not right. I mean, he's not right in the first place. Because if somebody didn't marry, it doesn't make any difference. After all, everybody cannot marry. Even male and female. Everybody cannot marry.
All right. Let's... Lord Fassi very quickly said a married woman should be appointed to a position in the state she was married off to. Marry off. All right. So we just, of course, there's an interaction we're having this morning. Don't marry somebody off. We marry that off. Right? We don't. In order not to create confusion, that she has a stake in her state of origin. Where the law says federal character, you have a stake. You shall continue to lay claims. That is, you are a stakeholder
Yes,
in your father's state.
Okoroma, the rejection of the appointment of the chief judge of Cross River State on the grounds of dual indigenship is a cake, shameful, and must be protested against by women.
Now, Destiny, this is the Twitter handle. I'm a living example of such discrimination. My parents are from Cross River, but I was born in Ikeja at Blue Cross Hospital, Lagos. Attended Onilekere Primary School, Ikeja, and St. Joseph Secondary School, Agege, but was stopped from contesting councillorship election on the basis of not being Yoruba. Well, that's one, but there is a member of the House of Representatives who is from Amowo Dofin. It's a Delta. I mean, that's to say his name is Delta. So that's right. Absolutely. Gentlemen and ladies. Right. Okay.
Now, Cecilia Okoroma says Judge Sibeme should lead the protest against this archaic behavior by the political elites of Cross River. Let's salute Lagos State that has consistently set the pace in their all-inclusive governance.
Absolutely. That's something that should be noted. MC, there are a number of commissioners, as Jide said. If we mention some of their names now, they say that this person is from Ogun, the other one is from, some of them from Kwara, so some from Ekiti, by the way. So MC Dreamer has this tweet. Say the issue is clear. When a woman is married to a man, she changes her name to her husband's name. So what does that mean? She automatically belongs to the state of her husband. Not necessarily.
Yeah, because an aspect we didn't actually discuss is this issue of change of name. What does it connote? When somebody changes his name willingly, what does it connote? Does it reflect? Well, let's keep it at that. Then Alabi Muhyiddin says, I so much believe that the constitution needs to be amended, as there is no reason for state of origin. A man or woman from Sokoto should be allowed to stand election in Cross River State. We don't need indigenship in Nigeria.
Well, in the past, let's also remind ourselves, people used to contest elections wherever they were. I mean, people from the southeast won elections in the north, people from the north won elections in the southeast, and vice versa. But of course, we have had some alterations to our national character. Sonny Michael Amakoji, Barack Obama is originally from Kenya. But we all watched him become the president of the United States. Back home, let me remind us that Honorable James Faleke is from Kogi State, but is representing Lagos State in the House of Reps today. We should stop stereotyping if we must get the best.
All right, Cletus Gabriel said, I know of a woman who claims to have more than 3 indigenship because she married outside her state and divorced 3 times. We call that multi-indigenship. Why he raised that was that when Jide Ojo brought in the issue of divorce or discontinuation of marriage, I think that's where he's saying because people have married 2-3 times.
No, Kyria.
Does he also want to marry?
Esther drew our attention to something very important in this respect, partly in response to what Jide said, that the provision of the law
for
married persons.
That's right.
Married women. So you can be claiming, as we have said, multiple indigenship, up to...
If someone marries again, is it against the law to marry again?
No. But for you to, for the benefit of the law, for you to have that. I mean, look, let's say everybody knows how famous Elizabeth Taylor was. Elizabeth Taylor was an American. I mean, married 8 times. Some of them going back again to the same husband. So I mean, that would have been assuming that
you have multiple indigenous. That's what they get.
No. But for purposes of this, the provision relates only to married women. Okay. All right, Kyrian. I mean, this has been an unusually interesting conversation. Let's get our closing thoughts now. We don't know. As we are discussing this, the trigger for this would appear to be what's played out in Cross River. But River State appears to have had a way around this. Because that issue also came up as to who on the hierarchy, could be elevated to become the chief judge, or who could succeed to become the chief judge. Yes, Leonard Senior Advocate in Jos, Honorable Pajok.
Hello. Well, my take is that. Let me also comment on some of the issues. The Constitution itself does not bar any citizen of Nigeria from contesting for any office, whether councillor, House of Assembly, Senate, governor, or president. You can come from anywhere in Nigeria. There is no bar for you to contest for any position based on indigenship. Secondly, let us also remember that Section 42, subsection 1, which talks about non-discrimination on the grounds of ethnic origin or sex. There's also another subsection of that section 42 that says nothing in the Constitution shall invalidate any act made by the National Assembly in furtherance of some of the provisions of the Constitution. So it means that that section 42 has been validated and has validated the Federal Character Commission law, and that's why there is need, in order to clear any ambiguity, to look at the law itself, so that we do not have these issues of interpretation. Lastly, let me also refer us to the provisions of Section 25 of the Constitution, which talks about how we even acquire our citizenship. Section 25, subsection 1 talks about a citizen of Nigeria acquires a citizenship by birth if any of his parents or grandparents before independence, that is 1960, was indigenous to a community in Nigeria. So you see, the Constitution itself has introduced the word indigenship, but then they used the word either of whose parents or grandparents. So it means, by parents, it means either father or mother, grandfather or grandmother. So I think that the Federal Character Commission law itself has probably introduced some controversy into the matter. What would the decision have been if that definition clause in the Federal Character Commission law was not there? Probably there wouldn't have been any confusion or any issue of misinterpretation if we had just left out that clause and then allowed non-Nigerians to look at the law as defined in Section 25, subsection 1, which will now see you as a citizen of Nigeria based on the fact that either of your parents or grandparents as an independence, whether your grandmother or your grandfather was indigenous, therefore you are entitled to all the privileges of citizenship of Nigeria, whether for appointment, whether for elevation, whether to contest offices. I think those are the issues that we have to look at.
Yeah, we appreciate your perspective to this. Thank you very much indeed. And we're back to Abuja. You know, Joe, considering what many of our contributors this morning, wrote in and what their thoughts, were, as the case may be, and from what Honorable Yang has said, how do you do closing thoughts? Bring everything, put everything together from the cultural point of view, like you come then from legal point of view, and of course there are disagreements between even the lawyers on this program on this matter.
Well, for me, I think again it's about power relations and who is backing you. We have seen presidents nominating repeatedly the same nominee more than once.
That's right.
Because he believes in that person, and until the president achieves his aim, he didn't stop. We have issues around the acting chairman of EFCC. The president has not removed him in spite of the Senate not clearing him to be in substantive capacity. And the man has been there since 2015 or 2016. So the issue is about power relations. But I'm saying, I agree with Senior Advocate Gia. Perhaps we can tinker with that Federal Character law for the sake of clarity, so that we will not be subjecting it to ambiguity and ambivalence and all of that. So if this nice National Assembly can pick it up, maybe Honorable Miriam can actually sponsor that and say, look, let's put this issue of ambiguity around this clause to rest. But I think women deserve double advantage because of over the centuries discrimination and marginalization. We cannot do away with that. We have a sizable number of Nigerian women who are vibrant, who are world-class citizens, who could hold their own anywhere, but are limited by politics of patriarchy. by politics of, hegemony, by politics of underdevelopment. So to make up for that, I would say on top of this, we should even have an affirmative action in the Constitution that would seem to promote gender equity.
Okay, thank you. Miriam, come in here, please.
Yes, I thank you very much, Mr. Ojo. I like to come across men like you who, in this decade of action, have stepped forward to be counted. Like you said, if we have to balance the gender inequality, there has to be concrete efforts put in place. Like you've said, there has to be particular attention paid to inclusiveness of women in politics. I can tell you that out of 360 members in the House of Reps, I'm the 13th. And what it tells you is that we need more ways of allowing women to seek to be elected rather than diminish our very dim chances already. So this topic of today, I think Nigerians should take it seriously. It's not just about legislation. If it were about legislation for purposes of clarity and to reduce the ambiguity in the system, we would seek an amendment to the Federal Character Bill and make it more amenable. Why does it have to be around women that such controversies will be built when women are already disadvantaged and seemingly looking for opportunities to level up? I thank you, Mr. Ojo, and I plead with Nigerians to correct this imbalance. It's a mental thing. It's a psychological imbalance, and it's dealing a lot of blow on women who should be encouraged to aspire to get to their peak.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Miriam Onoha. Esther Uzoma, your closing thoughts, briefly.
Yes. Briefly, the Constitution, the basis of belonging to the Nigerian state is citizenship. Unfortunately, the basis for sharing the national cake is indigenship. And this indigenship is an ephemeral, concept. It's an ephemeral, because the human being is highly mobile. Today you are here, tomorrow. So there's need to rejig and revisit those provisions.
All right. So on that note, we'd like to thank all our guests who've been with us on this very interesting program today, discussing married women and dual indigenship. Very many perspectives that have come up. Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst, regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria. Thanks a lot for being around. Esther Uzoma, lawyer and national coordinator, Proactive Gender Initiative, and also regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria. I'd delight to have you with us.
My pleasure.
And Honorable Miriam Onwoha, who is a member of the House of Representatives. We'd like to thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
Okay. From JOS, our network center, we are joined by Honorable Edward Giang Pwajok, learned senior advocate, former member of the House of Representatives and former Attorney General of Plateau State. Thanks a lot for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria. All right, so we go over now to sports. Let's see what's happening in the world of sports versus coronavirus.
Responsible thing to do in the...
Manchester United won 5-0 at Lax Links behind closed doors in the first leg of their Europa League last 16 tie, in a game played without fans in line with the guidance of the Austrian government.
Igalo. Oh, what a goal!
Johnny Gallo slammed home the opener from 20 yards just before the half hour and provided the assist for Daniel James, who added a second. Joan Mata bagged a third 8 minutes from the end as Maxim Greenwood and Andres Pereira struck in injury time. Meanwhile, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has tested positive for coronavirus, and the club's game against Brighton on Saturday has been postponed. The Gunners have closed their training ground, and club staff who had recent contact with Arteta will now self-isolate. The Premier League will hold an emergency club meeting Friday morning to discuss future fixtures. Also, the Spanish top flight La Liga has been suspended for at least the next 2 rounds of matches as a result of Real Madrid's squad going into quarantine because of coronavirus. And in Italy, all sport is suspended, including Serie A, until the 3rd of April, with the country in lockdown. Also, the ATP Tour has postponed all play for 6 weeks due to escalating health and safety issues arising from the coronavirus outbreak. All tournaments on the ATP Tours and ATP Challenger Tour are cancelled until 27th April. The Miami Open was cancelled earlier on Thursday following the postponement of India Wells and the third Cup finals.
And that's our show today on Good Morning Nigeria. We thank you for watching. Please return again on Monday when we shall be back with a fresh edition of your Good Morning Show. My name is Kirian Umayo.
And remember, wherever the rest of the day takes you, it begins with us on Good Morning Nigeria at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. weekdays. Enjoy your weekend. I'm Kingsley Osanolo.